recording on, and let's jump in. So you guys should have the class materials. I just sent those over to you. We're going to be breaking apart this class into a couple different segments. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to just break it down and get into bite-sized chunks of this class. Let me get to my PowerPoint, maybe. There we go. Let me let Roberta back in. Okay. All right. So as I said, this is going to be a couple part class that we're going to do. And it says phone prospecting, but I kind of just changed the name to prospecting in general, because I think the principles that are taught in this class apply to all different types of prospecting. And I think when we say phone prospecting, it gives people phobia. And so I took out the word phone prospecting and just left prospecting in the title of the class. And so as we advance, we're going to go through, today is just, where do I start? Who do I call? And then as we move through, there's scripts and dialogues and things like that you guys will get, as always, with momentum. So just really breaking it down into what does this look like? Excuse me. Janae, that is the email I used for you. So check your spam. Maybe it got stuck in spam. All right. So good morning, Heather. So basically what our objective in the next couple of weeks here is, we want to build your confidence. And I think that that's a big thing for people, is that they feel like, well, I don't want to come across as the desperate, creepy, used car salesman. Not that there's anything wrong with being a used car salesman, but what I really want you guys to have is the confidence to leverage the phone and pick up the phone or whatever, messenger, whatever it is that you're doing, and call people and get in front of them and talk to them about their real estate needs. You should be the most popular person at the party. And so we don't want to be afraid of who is it that I should be calling. And if you lead from a servant's heart and you just call because you're caring about calling them and it's not about selling, then that brings that, to me, it changes the vibe, right? If I'm just reaching out to someone and just to check in on them, I shared this story a couple weeks ago, but I used to volunteer for Valley Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so my little is not so little anymore. She's a mom of 3, and she's married, has a family. But it popped up in my Facebook memories, some photos of us, and I messaged it to her and I said, why were we wearing these goofy hats? And I know her financial situation, they really can't afford to buy right now. So my intent was not to market to her. That was not my intention. My intention was just simply to connect over this Facebook memory. But the conversation naturally went there. And she asked me how the market was and said, we want to buy, and kind of talked about getting them on a plan to get them, get their credit cleaned up and start saving. So, so the conversation went there, even though that was not my intent at all. Okay. So we want to build your confidence, and then we want to understand what is the specific skill that you need to have in order to become an effective prospector. And then we want to know who to call. So and then what are our best practices, which we're going to talk about. And I think that's next class. And then building your database for ongoing referral business. We should be thinking about our databases every day and adding new people. Francine, you're new here, so adding people to your database. Who do I know here? So I would join some groups, go out there. Meetup.com is a great place to find places or groups that you can join, hobbies that you can have. So if you live in an area that has a country club, go hang out there. The neighborhood I live in, there's a country club, and this neighborhood's saturated with realtors, so I probably wouldn't do it, but and there's a Remax just bought the old Maverick. So the Remax Mountain Properties, which is awesome because now Remax has a pretty big exposure in here. But if I wanted to, on a Friday night, go hang out at the country club and wear my Remax swag, I would probably have some conversations with people, right? And talking about real estate and getting into that conversation. So something maybe I should do. So thinking about growing your database constantly, like who are we going after? So where do we want to start with phone prospecting? Oh, another idea, Francine, is coffee shop prospecting. And I think this applies even to everybody on the call, actually, is go set up at a Starbucks or whatever coffee shop that you like, have your swag, pre-buy some coffees, pre-buy, $50 worth of coffee, and then have the barista give your card out. Those people are going to come over and thank you, Heather, for the cup of coffee. And then they're going to say, how's the market, right? And so that's an opportunity. That's another great way to prospect. And that applies to anywhere, anywhere that you can go and set up and make it obvious that you're in real estate. You'll open the conversation with people that are thinking about buying or selling. I one time held up the line at the Safeway right there by the office because I was checking out and I had my Remax hoodie on, and the lady pointed at my shirt and goes, "Oh, you're in real estate." I'm sorry, because this was when the market was really crappy, when the foreclosure market was happening. So I had to hold up the line to tell her why it was still a great time to be a homeowner. And so your Remax swag opens the door for conversations, and if you really want to step it up, get one with the bling on it. You guys have seen mine. I have one in my desk drawer here. This is my other one, but here, I don't know if you can see that. So there you go. So Remax. So this is name badge or blingNameBadge.net. $20 for this. There's different styles that you can get, but you guys, when I wear this opens up conversations. Okay. And it's really fun and it's good quality. Okay. So 6 steps to success. So mindset. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot lately, right? Mindset is everything. It's always been everything, but it's so critical right now that we have a good mindset. If you're buying into the sensational headlines and you think the market's crap, then guess what? Your business is going to be crap. But if you're leaning into it and going, there's 21,000 homes on the market, that's 21,000 opportunities for buyers out there. There was a graphic going around showing the difference of 6 months ago to today that's been floating around the internet, which I just recreated it because I didn't like the way it looked. So that's something to be pushing out, right? Showing people the difference, because everyone thinks we horribilize stuff, right? So people think, oh my gosh, interest rates are too high, I can't afford it. But when you really break it down and you look at the incentives and the price adjustments that are happening, right? Is it really that bad? The graphic that's been floating around was like $200 difference in payment, which if you like to go out to eat, that's probably one meal going out to people with a couple drinks. All right, Janae, that's probably, your whole family, you go out to eat, right? With all your kids. So, you go out to dinner, it's an inexpensive affair, right? And so when we think about that, could we not one time not go out to eat to be able to buy a home? I think that's a sacrifice. Most people would say, heck yeah. Right. So your thoughts matter. So, right. So what's up here matters. The greatest salesman in the world, I've been doing SLAM and we've been studying this book as we've gone through SLAM, and it's such an inspirational book. I mean, I can't open one page of this book and not have something that just stands off the page that goes, yeah, wow, I'm going to go rock the day. And so finding things like this that are good tools, because what we put in our head is exactly equal to what our environment, right? What our results are. So your thoughts matter. The purpose of your call. So we want to understand what the dual purpose of the call is. Who are we calling? We've got to have a list of people to call. So who do we call first? So we're going to break that down. And then what do we say? So scripts and dialogues are super important right now. I've heard a lot of people say, I just don't know what to say. Right. And if someone says to you, I would love to buy, but it's too expensive. And you go, yeah, I understand. Then that's the end of the conversation. Right. So it's okay to say, I understand, Heather, but can I consult you a little bit? Can I give you a different perspective? Would you be interested in learning about an interest rate offset program? Like if I could show you a way that would, get you into a home and save you money, would you still be interested? But the agents that say, I understand, right? You guys heard me share that an agent in our orbit on Facebook, someone said that it's too expensive. We got beat out. And she said, I totally understand. I don't know why anyone would buy right now. It's so expensive. And to which I had to rebuttal that very quickly on social media, right? Because that's not the right thing to say. Telling someone to wait and I'll call you next spring. Roberta, what if the interest rates go up to 9% by spring? Right? So that's not the right thing to say. So knowing what to say. So you guys got scripts and dialogues. And then what are your systems and tools? So that's another part of this class, is setting yourself up for success. What are the tools and actual tangible things that you need in order to prospect? All right. So mindset. So right thinking. Okay. So I'm going to roll through these pretty quickly here. So thoughts rule the world because they determine your feelings and actions. So I can think myself into being happy. I can think myself into depression. I can think myself into anxiety, right? Fear, all of those things. So your thoughts control your world. Same thing, what I just said here. I can think myself into happiness or depression, health, peace, or illness, anger. So we must take care of our thoughts and feelings, and actions will take care of themselves. We give to others the fruits of our own thinking. One of my favorite sayings is that we are the sum of the 5 people we hang out with the most. So we want to elevate our game. We need to elevate our company, right? We are influenced by the thinking of those whom we associate with, or the media. By our thinking, we create our individual and collective experience of reality. Changing our thinking for the better improves the quality of our own lives, and so lifts those around us. Marion Williamson wrote a poem. I don't know the name of the poem, but if you just type in our greatest fear, is that we're, she talks about playing small, and that your playing small does not serve the world. Right. It's a great poem. So I probably am not doing it justice. If someone remembers the name, better way to search it, pop it in the chat so everybody can look it up, because it's a great poem, very inspiring. So we want to lift up those around us, and helping people in our orbit be homeowners is something that we do, right? That changes the world, changes their life. And it's not just about the equity, right? But being a homeowner, if you go on NAR, there's so many other benefits of being a homeowner, from children doing better in school, marriages lasting longer, overall, just a well-being, a sense of well-being and pride of place. Okay. So remember that we need to be good stewards of that message, that it's always a good time to be a homeowner. Okay. Most people don't progress because they put limits on themselves, which usually show up in the form of an excuse. So if you're trying, you're lying, right? So I take the word try out of my vocabulary, because 100% of the time, if I say I'm trying, I don't do it. Right. So what does Yoda say? Either do or do not. From Star Wars, right? Either do or do not. Okay. All right. So your mindset, continuing on with this. So phone prospecting, many people you speak to will say no, right? Og Mandino says, for every no I get gets me that much closer to the yes, right? What's going on with my video looks fine. I was looking at my screen over here. It looked weird. So your mindset each day should be to seek the no's, right? Because the no's get you that much closer to the yeses. One of Nate's buyer's agents told me that he was committed to eating rejection for breakfast, right? He wants to get up and have a big old bowl of rejection, because he knows once he gets past those rejections, those are where all the yeses are. So be grateful and thankful for each no, because that helps you get closer to the yes. And the no's also give us an opportunity to improve. Right? Objections and rejections give us an opportunity to improve, shares a light on the gap, right? Maybe I'm not saying the right things. Maybe I'm not saying the right things to the right person. So how do I adjust that? This mindset will help you overcome your fears of being told no. All real estate agents are salespeople, and real estate is a sales business. Sales is a people business, and understanding the people is part of the key to success. And so when we say people business, it's almost it's a relationship business, right? We're in the business of making relationships that lead to us helping people be homeowners, right? And so if you think about that, if I join a group, I'm not going to join that group to go sell real estate. I'm joining that group to make relationships. And then if I can do that, that puts everybody's guard down, because I'm not going in and, sell, right? I'm going in because I care about you and I want to build a relationship. Okay. Continuing on with the seller's mindset. Okay. So understanding the seller's mindset or a buyer's mindset. And so as a coach at Workman, we've been talking a lot about having empathy. And so, some of you, I think I said this in the last call, was as leaders, we've been talking about you agents. There's agents out there that have never experienced a balanced market. Well, I've been doing this 25 years. I've never experienced a market where there was 2.75% interest rate. Right. I've never experienced an increase in interest rate as robust as it's been. And so we've all never experienced moments in the real estate market. Okay. So understanding the client's mindset. So I think this goes for buyers and sellers. So we want to empathize. We want to recognize and validate their fears and uncertainties. But then the next step of that is to move them past it. Because if we don't validate that, they're not going to hear the next thing that comes out of our mouth. That goes even for your relationships, guys. I mean, think about that. When that was said to me a couple of weeks ago, I thought about my own relationship and how maybe I need to do a better job validating and hearing what my partner's saying, because the next things I say, is he even going to hear me? And I could tell you, no, based on some recent conversations, right? He doesn't hear me. And then that starts that next part of, the next part of how it goes in relationships. So I think we have to connect with them, understand their fears and where they're coming from, and then offer the solution. So one thing I love about this business is that when things go haywire, we find solutions, right? Think about during the pandemic, what did we start doing? We couldn't show homes. Well, we weren't really necessarily in that boat, unlike other states that were deemed Well, Francine, you were in a state that was deemed non-essential, because Michigan, right? You couldn't sell real estate for several weeks. And so what'd you do? You found virtual, right? We found ways around it to still make things happen. And that's one thing I love about this industry, is that we are so innovative. Okay. So here's some of the common responses you're going to hear. So not looking to sell. So I just want to know the value of my property. They are looking to sell. So I'm curious about what the value is and how long it would take to sell and the cost to sell it. Expireds. We're going into the biggest expired month of the year, December 31st, one of the biggest expired days of the year. And I pulled it the other day, you guys. We're in the last 30 days. It was some day last week I pulled it. The last 3 days were 500 expired homes in MLS. And I know working expireds is kind of, you gotta have some thick skin, because they, they're pissed off their house didn't sell, right? But there's some opportunities there. And I'm not going to say the name of the company, but y'all know who I'm talking about. They have a ton of the expired listings. Okay. And so can you go in and offer a different perspective? Because in my opinion, they've been bamboozled by the TV commercials and the radio commercials and all the billboards and everything that's going on. So they need us more than ever. Okay. For sell by owners, I want to sell, but I'm motivated by saving money, or I don't like realtors. So, and there's a whole perspective on for sale by owners. We teach a class about that. And it's not about getting the listing. It's just about getting your foot in the door, right? I want to add you to my motivated buyer list. Okay. So there's a whole class on that. And there's recordings of it if you don't want to wait for it to come up on the next rotation. Farming. So I want to know why you're calling me and if you are reputable. Farming's a long game, right? You got to have 6 to 8 months of marketing into a farm area before you're going to see, a return on that. Okay. Some people will say even longer. There's one guy that does farming, says 24 months. But farming is definitely an effective way to grow your business. You look at Nate, that's the bulk of what he does, is farm to Blackstone and a couple other neighborhoods. Let me move this here. Be able to see that. Okay, so in order to create a life of abundance, you must train your mind to think in unlimited terms. Some of you what was it? Where were we at that Nate had us double? I don't remember where we were at, but we were talking about our goals, right? Writing things down and saying, okay, how much money do you want to make? And then take a line and cross through it and double it. For some of us, that's a pretty scary number. I know Roberta's number, it's a big number, right? And so you have to actually believe that that's possible, because the world is unlimited. I mean, it really truly is. There's so much opportunity out there. It's just what's your slice of the pie? I would encourage all of you to take that river of real estate that we talked about at the November meeting and figure out the population. I was on a coaching call yesterday, and my girl in Denver, I had her do this in the neighborhoods that she works. And she texted me afterwards. She was like, holy cow, these numbers are creepy. They're within hundreds of the sales in 2021. So that information is accurate, right? And for me, Roberta, what that does is it shines a light on what's the possibility for next year. How many homes, Heather, are going to sell in your area next year? And then the next step of that is, what's my slice of the pie? How much of those do I want to go out and get? Because we know based on that data that 13% of the population still moves, 7% of households still move, right? And so when we have that, if you think about a lighthouse, what's the lighthouse's job? Its job is to be the light in the storm, right? And so for me, when I look at that number, that's my lighthouse. That's the light that I see, because then I can go after that, right? If I'm in trouble, I look to the light and I can see that no matter what's going on with the storm around me, there's still light, right? There's hope. And so make that your guys' goal, to get that number and really think about that. Think about what is it how many houses are out there that I can go after? And then what am I going to do to get them? Okay. So you guys, what are some thoughts that we have around prospecting? So we got varying experience here. Janae doesn't have her license yet, but she's working on it. Roberta's obviously been here a minute. Heather's brand new. Francine, I don't know how long you've been in the business, but I know you're not new. So what are some thoughts around prospecting? We have any limited thoughts? Negative vibes? You guys are needing more coffee this morning. Everybody's all quiet.
I can tell you door knocking scares me.
Okay.
I can tell you that. I try to push myself to overcome that fear of door knocking. I don't know, it's just like a fear to me.
Okay.
And so what I've done in the past in Michigan, which is what I'm working on doing here, is I have these hand sanitizer bottles. I'm sorry, I don't have one up here to show you. And I've put a label on the front of it with my avatar and Remax Professionals. And so now when I pass out that hand sanitizer, I don't walk up to the door, asking, are you looking to buy or sell, or know someone looking to buy or sell? I pass that hand sanitizer out and just say, hey, I'm Francine with Remax Professionals, and I'm just passing hand sanitizer out to the community. Happy holidays, stay safe. And, then I leave it at that. And then if they want to talk about the market, then we can open up the door to talk about the market. And that kind of takes that little fear away, as far as just diving into, do you want to buy or sell? Or do you know anybody? Or
Yeah, I don't think anyone really loves door knocking, right? I think we push past it because it's something we do, right? One suggestion I would make for you is maybe take someone with you, take a lender with you, take a neighbor with you, take your, somebody else, just to kind of make that a little bit more comfortable for you. But I love that idea, is you should have something of value to give out. Roberta, you came off mute.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was first licensed, I'm not the person who picks up the phone or wants to talk to a stranger. Prospecting now I've realized, whether I'm new or I'm a veteran here, for me, it's easier in a group of people, at a function, at something that's pre-planned, and it becomes quite easy to network and talk to people and gather their information and then reconnect with them.
You are the queen of networking.
Huh?
Said you are the queen of networking. So many people.
Yeah, but I still have those fears, my own little negative whatever. But I try to get over it and just go do what I'm supposed to do. The other thing that and it's not necessarily negative, but I guess in reverse it could be negative. I spend more time on social media and kind of trolling and seeing what people are doing and communicating with them that way. So that's a little negative, because I don't I'm not going to just pick up the phone and talk to a stranger, but I'll dive in to somebody's conversation or make sure they know I'm around, or any number of things like that. So I guess that's kind of a positive and a negative.
Yeah, but it's where people are, right? Wayne Gretzky said that what made him great at playing hockey was he skated to where the puck was going, not where it had been. So
but
where are people?
It's also a safe place, right?
It is. It is.
To Francine's point, I can door knock on my social media, right? I can door knock all day long. What are you doing? Yeah. How you doing? How's things treating you? What's going on? What, how's the kid? How's this? How's that? Can I drop by and drop off some hand sanitizer? So for me, that makes it easier. I agree. I'm not in love with door knocking, except certain neighborhoods are okay, but they're easier. But.
Yeah, I think door knocking around an open house is probably the easiest one, because you're inviting people, or
for sure
telling them to watch out for creepers because I'm going to be at this house,
for sure,
asking for permission to put the sign on their lawn, all that. So, but you guys, whatever, if you're using Facebook Messenger and you're engaging them and it's resulting in a conversation, that counts in my book. It counts, right? Because you're still staying top of mind. You're still engaging them. The conversation's going towards real estate. So I think it still counts, right? Now, that's not to say stay there all the time and hang out in there, because, we don't want that to become the rejection-free zone either. Okay. So I think there's a balance there. So I would encourage you just to take, after we're done with class, take a couple minutes and write down some thoughts you have around prospecting, and then rewrite the thoughts, right? Because we need to eat rejection for breakfast. We need to possess the belief that you are the best for what, to help them, right? And that you are coming from a place of service, right? From a servant's heart, and that we really do have their best interest at heart. someone I coach, they're in another state. There's a local lender who has been pushing out some pretty negative stuff and saying that if a realtor right now is telling you it's a good time to buy, that they're lying and they're only worried about their paycheck. And so we were masterminding around how do we create some messaging to combat that with this guy, right? And so there are people out there, right? There are lenders. I had a conversation with a lender the other day that made a comment about the market. And so we steer clear of those people, right? If that's their vibe, we don't want to be sending our people to them, right? And so again, just thinking about coming from a place of service, right? And I think if we can all do that, it makes the idea of prospecting a little less terrifying. Okay. So take some time, write down your thoughts, your personal thoughts, and then rewrite them as, positives. Okay. There we go. Okay. So the purpose of the call, we want to have value, right? What is the rationale behind, did I skip a slide? Hold on. Nope, I didn't. Okay. So thinking about expireds, let's see if I'm an option for you, right? Your house failed to sell with the other realtor, but you still have a need to sell. Maybe I'm an option for you. Okay. Top listing agents get mad. So they get mentally tough, absolutely committed, and then detached from the outcome. Because if they say no, it's not about you, Heather, right? Don't take it personal. Move on. Next, right? Next on my list. Okay. If you are going to work expired, you definitely do have to be mentally tough and not, not let them get to you, because they might say some pretty ugly things. Because they've just had a bad experience, right? And they think all realtors are the same. And so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on expireds because we do have a class on that. Okay, so always having an active list of people to call. So we shouldn't wonder when we get out of bed in the morning, who needs our services? And so who are some of the most identifiable targets to begin with? Past clients, your center of influence. So your sphere of influence, right? Your top 50. So people who know you, like you, and trust you. And then if you're new, right, having some past clients that'll come. Just listed postcards. So pushing out content, on just listed, if you have a listing. Just solds, right? People who might be thinking of selling. I've shared this statistic before, but when a home goes up on the market, within the next 30 days, another home will be listed. Within the next 60 to 90 days, 2 to 3 more homes might be listed. And so when we have a listing, leverage that listing. Leverage it for the other opportunities that are coming in the very near future. I would like to think if you did a really good job canvassing a neighborhood when you brought a new listing on and doing a bang up open house, that one of those possible 3 listings is going to ask you for an interview. Okay, I'd like to think that if we're not, then we haven't been leveraging the last couple of years. We haven't had to, right? Because our listings are selling like hotcakes, and so we haven't had to. But what other business did we miss out on by not doing those activities? Right. And so now if a home sits on the market for 30 days, that creates leverage. You should be generating 6 to 8 leads for every listing that you take. If you're not, then we need to look at what are we doing? What are we doing to generate those leads? Okay. For sell by owners and then expireds. So for sell by owners, again, the concept here is just get your foot in the door, have a conversation with them, try to help them sell their home. And at some point in that process, they're going to say to you, why are you doing all of this for me? Why is my house not selling? And then that's the opportunity for you to go in and get the listing. Okay. All right. So identifying. So what I'd like you guys to do for the next 2 minutes, one to 2 minutes, is write down 10 people that you should call today. And Francine, it might be some people from Michigan that want to move since it's snowing there. All right. Everybody got 10 names? Heather's shaking her head no. Okay. How many did you get?
5.
5. Okay. Fair enough. How many calls did you commit to in the gas program? Like 10, didn't you?
6, I think.
6. Okay. Well, you're almost there then. You got 5 identified. That's half the battle, right? Because we sit down and we stare at our computer and go, I don't know who to call. What am I doing today? So we can identify those people and use your social media. Go look and see who's got birthdays today. That's a great place to start. It's a great place to start. And, you know, I mean, I know, Jessica, you've family, a lot of family in California. That's okay. People move. A lot of people are moving from California right now. Not that they want to come here, you know, but could you refer them to somebody in another state that where they want to live, right? That's absolutely an opportunity. Same thing with you, Francine. I know your sphere is a lot in Michigan, but people move all the time. And so you never know, right? They could be inspired by the fact you moved here and be like, you know what, she's not shoveling sunshine this winter, so I want to move to Phoenix or I want to buy a second home. And so Michigan's a big destination for people here in Arizona. And so, you know, same thing with, you know, people in Washington State. Arizona's a big state. They want to come here and dry out, right? So don't eliminate the people that don't live here. So there's still opportunities to have conversations with. Okay. And you don't know who they know that they might refer you to, right? Okay, so good job. So everybody's got 10 or close to. Feel good about that? Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. So what do I say? So your scripts. So know your scripts. So the fear of what to say does not stop you from picking up the phone. So start by using scripts and having that others have had success with. So the River Real Estate, you guys, it's a great script. And I'm pretty sure that got sent. Did that get sent out to you guys after the meeting? The actual script itself with the slides?
I actually don't remember.
No? Okay. I will send it to you. Make a note to do that. So yeah, role playing that and practicing it, knowing what to say. Record yourself while you're on the phone. That's a terrifying idea. But it's a way to improve our skill because, you know, if you find yourself having a crutch word or, you know, some weird tick when you're making calls, it's a way to correct yourself, right? And to level up and to be more polished. We have to self-evaluate and then asking the right questions, probing, going 3 deep. Tell me more about that. Why do you feel that way? Where did you hear that? Tell me about your previous experience buying or selling a home. That's a great question to ask, because if they sold as a short sale, well, then I know where my bar is at, right? If they sold and they had 40 offers, then now I know where my bar is at, right? If they've never bought or sold before, tell me about somebody that you know that's bought or sold, okay? So asking the right questions. You guys have heard me say this before, but one of my favorite scripts is just the word "oh." So I can say "oh," and I can solicit all kinds of different things. Okay. So tell me more about that. Let's have more of a conversation about that. Finding a common ground, find something to connect with, you know, something, you know, Thanksgiving's next week. I intend on making a graphic and texting it out to people on my phone. Just wishing them, you know, on Monday or Tuesday, happy Thanksgiving, right? I can do that while I'm sitting watching TV. You know, that's an easy thing to do. And I will get responses back from people. And so, but be present on Thanksgiving Day. Don't be doing it on Thanksgiving Day. Do it the days before. So finding a common ground, finding some way to connect with them, because people leak who they are. And at the end of the day, everybody has a deep need. Even the most horrific people in the world have a deep need to be connected with, to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. Okay. So find that common ground. And then I can't stress this enough. I know I've been on a rant about mindset and role play lately. Sorry, but it's super important right now to role play. So Roberta, you and your team should be role playing. So, you know, Francine, you're in the gas you are in the gas program. I think you just joined. So get with your groups, right? Get with your gas pod and role play together, right? Find some time to do that. The worst case, record yourself and listen to it while you're driving around in the car. Okay. And then take those scripts. And once you've read them and you understand them, now make it yours. You know, put it in your own voice, your own tone, you know, your own emotions, right? Make them so that they don't feel like they're scripts anymore, right? You think about an actor or an actress, when they deliver content, right, they get on the camera, they've taken a script that someone else has written. Sometimes it's their own script, but they've taken a script, they memorize it, right? And then with the director's direction, they make it their own, right? And then they deliver it with this performance that draws you in. So it's kind of the same thing here with what we're talking about with scripts and dialogues. Okay, so fit the content to deliver it in your own dialogue, your own personality, but don't change it. Right. So when we say personalize, that's not going and editing it, because when we start editing, we lose the importance of the script. This is just more about internalizing it and then saying it in a tone that fits your personality. Okay. And sometimes that tone is going to change. If I'm dealing with a real strong D personality, I'm going to be more direct and straightforward to the point than I am going to be with someone who's a high S, that I might take more time and have a different tone. I might speak slower. I might, punctuate something a little differently. You're the same thing with your C personalities, right? So you got all of those. I might change that tone depending on who I'm speaking to. Okay. Internalize. So we want to live it. So display your values and expertise at all times. When you put your name tag on, no matter where you're going, you're on, right? You're on duty. And so we want to be mindful of that. And then customize. So we want to adapt the content to deliver to the audience. Okay. Which is kind of what I was talking about with the personality styles, the disc. I like to do a little bit of social media stalking before I call people, because then that gives me something that's an opening starting point. I had made a call to, this was right when the pandemic had started, and one of my past clients, I've sold her a couple houses. She had got a new dog. And so when I reached out to her, I was like, oh my gosh, I love Puppy Breath. Your dog is so freaking adorable. And of course I know the dog's name, and it was a way she was like, who's not going to talk about their dog? Right? Who's not going to engage me on that? Or their cat or their kid. I don't care what it is, right? So looking at that and finding a way to connect. One of the agents in our orbit, Jay Patel, just summited, what mountain is it? Who's friends with him? He summited Mount Everest. I think it's Mount Everest. So anyway, that's a talking point, right? Maybe not right now because he's there, but in a week or two when he gets back, that's a talking point to call him up and be like, oh my gosh, tell me about your experience. So use your social media, because people are voyeurs, right? They're putting it out there. So use that as a talking point. And you guys, if you see them putting something out like, I hate my drive to work, okay, well, that's sort of a backhanded way of saying I might want to move, right? If you see them say, oh my gosh, we're having another baby, that also is an opportunity to say, do you need a bigger house? One of my friends, she has 6 kids, and during the pandemic, the first day back to school, she was the classic example that I had been talking about all summer. And she took a picture of her kitchen table with all her kids sitting around on their devices with their headphones. That was their classroom. And all varying degrees of age, right? And Janae's shaking her head, right? So I know her financial situation. So unfortunately, she can't afford to buy a bigger house, but she would have been the perfect person to reach out to and say, hey, is your house big enough for you? Right? So look for those ways. You guys, social media gives us an awesome way to prospect. So look for those ways to connect. Same thing if there's a death or a wedding or, graduation. Those are all little ways that you can reach out and squeeze the orange and deepen that relationship. Okay, so I know it's work to think about that, but when we can take the time, and if you show up with a book on how to become an empty nester, right? You're taking the time, right? You're showing up and you're delivering more value. And by the way, someone who's got kids going off to graduations, do they need to live in the dorms, or can we sell them a kiddie condo that now becomes their first investment property? And if there's 2 kids going off to college, in my mind, that's a possibility of 4 transactions. How do I break that down? Each kid buys a condo. Mom and dad no longer need the big old house. So they're going to sell it. Plus they don't want the kids moving back in when they graduate college, right? So if we don't have the big house, kids can't move back in. So that's a listing. Mom and dad need to downsize. So they're buying. So that's the potential for, in my mind, a family of 4 that's got 2 kids graduating and going to college. It's 4 opportunities there. How many of us are really paying attention like that to be able to navigate that in our databases? Right? So use social media, you guys, because they're putting it out there for you to see it. All right. So what you do consistently determines who you ultimately become. Right? So your willingness and ability to match your expectations. If you're unable to efficiently implement the strategies necessary to achieve your goals around prospecting, you've got to seek out training. So if you're uncomfortable, get with your gas groups, right? Talk to somebody, connect with someone and talk about it. Now, don't wallow in BS with each other, right? We want to rise above that and push through, because at the end of the day, if you make enough contacts, you set enough appointments, you will hit your goals. And whether that person's ready today or not, that's not the objective. I just need to get eyeball to eyeball with them. Okay. So your choices lead to your actions. That creates habits. That creates your character, which ultimately shapes your destiny and what you leave behind as your legacy. All right. So we're not going to role play that, but you guys do have the scripts in the materials. So you have your call scripts, your voicemail plan, your phone number acquisition, this is basically a tool like RedX that you can buy a list of contact information. You got to follow the law with those. If they're on a do not call list, you want to make sure you pay attention to that. Those fines are hefty. I don't know, knock on something. I've never heard of a realtor actually getting fined, but they're out there. So I want to make sure you're paying attention to that. I'd say for everybody on this call right now, focus on building your sphere of influence in your database before you run out and start paying money for something. And especially if you're uncomfortable prospecting now, calling complete strangers on a call list, not going to do it. So it's unlikely. So you got to master getting good calling your database, right? And calling the leads that you currently have, and then layer in that when you're a master of that. Okay. So voicemail plan is an excellent way to break the ice with low stress. And again, using the scripts, 8 to 14 seconds. So who are you? Why are you calling? And without saying it all, right? And then that voicemail turns into I'd say a warm call, right? A lukewarm call. And there are dialers out there that you can use. Again, lead with revenue and don't go spend money on something that you're not going to be comfortable with, because those robo dialers are not for everyone. So and they're definitely not for the faint of heart. And then your call script. So you want to use this on most of your calls. It's going to build your confidence, build your skills. Okay. So take a look at the scripts that are in the class materials. All right. So wrapping up. So where do we start? So we have to start with our mindset, right? Mindset is everything. You guys have heard me say this, but read through those affirmations, those core values that we talk about in momentum. Those are affirmations. Those are things that get our mindset straight, right? So if Heather, you sit in an open house and it's a bust, gotta have that strong mindset so that next time an open house is on your schedule, you're still excited and ready to do that open house. Personally, when I have done open houses, I usually take a lot of stuff with me that I want to get done. Maybe it's a book or my note cards or something. And usually those are the days I'm slammed. So just a little trick. I don't know if it'll work for you, but it's worked for me in the past. And sometimes I'm disappointed because I'm like, I really wanted to get this work done, but then I ended up with a really successful open house. So having the right mindset. So whatever that looks like for you, if it's podcasts, if it's books, if it's affirmations, if it's a power song that you listen to on high in the shower, whatever it's going to do to get you in that mindset that you are ready. When you put your name tag on, you hit the ground running. So your thoughts matter. So you want to think in unlimited terms. One of my favorite books is You Are a Badass at Making Money. And she talks about two things one is why not you? Right? Why not you? Dare to be audacious and say, why not you? And then she also says that if you have a gift or a skill that changes the world, you have an obligation to share it. So think about that. I have an obligation. I have a real estate license. I have a license that allows me to help people with their primal need of shelter. I have an obligation to go out and shout that from the rooftops and help as many people as I can, right? So think about that for a second. Like, let that really soak in about that type of attitude and that type of mindset. Does that change how you feel about prospecting? I hope so. Okay. So what's the dual purpose of the call? So what's your role? Your role is to add value, right? To add value to their life, whatever that looks like, whether it's a book on empty nesters or helping them find another home because they're having a baby that was not planned. Okay. It was a surprise. Okay. So who do we have? Who do I call first? So always have a list every day. That's part of what we did with the journal, is identifying 3 people from your sphere of influence that you need to call that day. 3 people. That's it. right? Just 3. So what to say? So we want to role play practice. Okay. Workman does a live role play every Thursday. You guys are welcome to join that, as we have an enterprise account with them. So that gives you access to that. And it's a live role play with people from all over the nation. And it's really fantastic. Okay. And then what are your systems and tools, which we're going to talk more about coming up in the next, I think it's next week. So that is it for today. Like I said, next week, we're going to continue this conversation. So come back, right? Come back and take the next class so that you get the rest of the stuff. So, and I think I have three of these classes in total, maybe more, because there's a lot of meat to uncover in here. So questions, comments, thoughts? Was this helpful?
Always helpful. I just think it's really important to remember we've got to connect with the people that we know and not leave them hanging out there, and be on the phone or social media, somehow texting, whatever, and connect with them all the time. I consistently think back on any day that I stop and I think, gosh, what am I going to do today? And I'm telling you, I hope I never have really those days, but I'm human. And I just think back to COVID, and what did we do in COVID, our team? And we just sat down and we wrote personal notes and called people and texted people and checked on them and their well-being and what are they doing and what can we do to help them. And I mean, it was never about real estate.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
those people are still paying off.
Yep. Yeah, because we came from a place of service, can I
Right.
get you groceries? Can I help
And
with anything?
it makes me feel good to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Makes me motivated.
I have a gal I coach. She's in Michigan, in the south part of Michigan. She, every year during the holidays, she goes and volunteers as a grocery bagger. So she goes to the local, they're in a small community. So she goes to the local grocery store. She's all swagged up, but she goes in and she bags groceries for a couple hours and she gets business from it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and she also bakes bread, which I told her she was crazy because the amount of time it takes to make the bread, and her list keeps growing of the people that want the bread. But every November she gives out a loaf of handmade fresh bread, and people freaking love it. So, and again, she says that the reason she wants to do it is because she's coming from a place of service. And that if you take the time to actually knead and make bread, and think about bread, right? We break bread. Like there's so much around breaking bread, whether it's actually bread or not, right? And so there's so much to that is significant. And they rock it in a small community. Like and for a small brokerage, they rock. So think about those things that you can do to elevate your game. So you're not coming from commission breath, right? That we're coming from the servant's heart. Any other thoughts, comments? No? Okay. All right, you guys, what do we have going on Thursday? We have, Motto Mortgage. It's hosting a lunch and learn on reverse mortgages and how you can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a home. So they are providing lunch. So it's in person at the Arrowhead North office. So if you're going, please RSVP to them so that they know to bring you lunch. So it's going to be an informative class. I hadn't even thought about reverse mortgages. So I think it's a really timely topic. And just anytime you can pick brains of lenders and get good stuff. So, and you guys, that whole team is available for you. So you need graphics, you need open houses, you need whatever, reach out to them. So, they're all a wealth of knowledge and the team keeps growing. So just some really great, a great group over there to help you out. So, all right. That being said, that's it for today. So next week, do we have class next week? This is next week, Thanksgiving. So no class next week.
Nope.
So, because it's the week of Thanksgiving. So no class. I don't think, let me just double check. I don't think I have class on the schedule next week. Where is my calendar? There it is. Yes, so no class next week. We're taking a little break for the holiday. So you guys have a great holiday. If you need anything, please reach out. I'm always just a phone call, text message, or email away to help you out. So, and Francine, I will see you tomorrow at the office, and everybody else have a great day. Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
I do have a question for you outside of this meeting.
Okay.
And it's about